everybody, I'm back. I am back today. We are going to be talking about a major astrological transit, astro weather thing that's going on this summer, though the exactitude won't take place until February 20th of 2026. I am talking about the conjunction between transit Saturn and transit Neptune in Aries. This will happen, the exactitude will happen on February 20th of 2026 at 0 degrees, some odd minutes of Aries. But this summer, the summer of 2025, we will see these planets. I mean, they'll be like within a degree of one another, things like that, within minutes of one another, just not at the exactitude. But that energy will be going on this summer. So I wanted to go ahead and do a video about this thing. Also, I did a blog post about this. I've been trying to write more. Anybody that knows me well knows that I love to write. I absolutely love to write. Anybody that knows me well in my life, my friends, family, clients that have had me do written reports for them. And these are done from scratch. These are not AI generated, none of that shit. It is like me sitting at a computer, typing away 40 some odd pages sometimes. I love to write, but my blog has gotten a little neglected over the years in favor of YouTube videos, which is fine, like totally fine. Different platforms, different mediums, different ways of sharing information with people. But because I do love to write, I have been trying to write more. There is a blog post on my website. I will put the link in the description box where you can check it out if you are more of a reader than a watcher. I'm not sure if I'll cover everything in this video that I have in the blog post. I might even say new shit that I don't have in the blog post. I don't know. I don't have a script when I make these videos. I don't want one. I don't care. I just kind of say what I feel like saying, and I don't really edit. So it's like, here we are a lot of the time. This is what we got. So if you are more of a reader than a watcher, you can read that on my website. Also, if you are interested in the star cards, because I will be bringing them out to play today, I will put a link in the description box below where you can purchase them, check them out further, whatever the case might be. They really are a wonderful tool for learning this astro language. If you want to learn these, they have been called like the missing link. I've had people that have purchased them call them that, the missing link in learning. So if you are interested, the link will be in the description box for those. Also, if you would like me to read for you, I would love to read for you if you want me to. Whether it have to do with how this transit impacts you, anything else, just your natal chart, whatever, you can get a reading from me through my website. I will put the link in the description box where you can find me for a reading, check out what I offer, purchase one, whatever the case might be. I would love to do that for you. And let me just say my little disclaimer real quick, and then I'll get to the fucking point of the video, which is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. The disclaimer is, though, anytime you watch any kind of video or read any kind of post or article or whatever about transits, you have got to take your natal chart into account when you're doing this. Like, don't just read about a transit or watch a video on a transit and go, that's what's going to happen to me. It might not. You have to look and see what these astrological transits, what the astro weather, whatever is doing to your personal natal chart, to your personal astrology chart. Just please do that. All of these things that I'm going to mention are just ideas, possibilities, some from a historical context, right? Because these things are cyclical. Like this happens, this conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, not in Aries necessarily, but just the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, roughly every 36 years. So things come back around, right? What goes around, comes around. It is what it is. So some of the things that I've come up with here that seem possible do have a historical basis. But you have to take your own chart into account when looking at transits. Just want to throw that out there. First, just off the bat. Okay, anyway, now it's time to get to the fucking point. What is the point? What is the point? Okay, so we are talking about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. We should probably first start with talking about planet signs and houses. Really houses, I mean, I'm not bringing houses into account because I'm not looking at an actual chart. I am just looking at the planets and the signs. So planets are what energy is wanting to be expressed, needing to be expressed, should be expressed. I put should in quotes because we can all do whatever the hell we want. You know, we have the choice. We have the power to do what we want. But planets are what energy is wanting, needing, should be expressed. Signs, the signs are how energy is expressed. How that planetary energy is expressed. So in this case, Saturn and Neptune are the whats, and Aries is the how. So these planets, what these planets want to express, need to express, should express, is going to come through in an Aries way, in an Aryan way. The house, if you were to bring the house into the equation, the house would be where or what areas of life this energy is expressed through. This planetary energy is expressed through the lens of the sign that it's in. Okay, so also, if you see me looking over, I'm looking at my blog post to make sure that I touch on the things that I want to touch on. It's not a script, like I don't really go off a script, but just to keep me on topic, if that makes sense. Because this one, I realized when I was writing it, I was kind of starting to deviate a little bit, wanting to talk about other things that like really don't have any basis for this. I started wanting to bunny trail. I'll do another blog post at some other point in time on the shit I was bunny trailing off onto. But okay, so keywords for Saturn. What are some keywords for Saturn? They're on the star card too. We couldn't fit all of the keywords, that are possible, but there are some on here. On the website though, on my blog post, I have things like boundaries, structure, the master. Saturn is mastery or the master. Authority of all kinds. This can also be like self-authority too. It certainly can be, but we could also be talking about authority and government, shit like that. Saturn is also like the master of reality. So reality is on there. Testing, Saturn tests. Structure, building, Saturn is also the builder. And father time or daddy. Because anybody that's been watching these videos long enough knows that I call Saturn Big Daddy Dick or Big Dick Daddy or whatever the fuck. I kind of interchange those and use one of those terms when talking about Saturn. Okay, next one, Neptune. What does Neptune want to express, should express, might express, whatever? So while Saturn is boundaries, Neptune has no boundaries. There's no boundaries there. It's very fluid and formless, and it has no boundaries. So it's kind of an interesting thing going on there with these two planets, right? The firm boundaries and the lack thereof. Dissolution or dissolving, illusions and delusions, also Neptune territory, dreams, spirituality, unconscious, the unconscious, distortion, manifesting, Neptune is like the manifester, and conspiracy. Yeah, we're going to get into that a little bit. We're going to get into that. When I think of conspiracy is a Neptune thing, right? Because it's things that are kind of have a mask over them or are camouflage or, that's why conspiracy kind of falls under Neptune. I also think though of conspiracy as a Pluto thing as well. And Pluto just, in November of 2024, it just firmly cemented itself in Aquarius. So it's changed signs recently too. So, and there's something about it being in Aquarius, having moved into Aquarius, that does make the idea of Neptune and bringing the conspiracy keyword up. It does feel relevant to me in this context. Now, as far as Aries energy, how Aries energy may express itself. Hold on a second. The allergies are terrible out here today. They're like really bad. Okay. Aries energy. How might Aries energy express itself? Through action, direct. Aries energy is incredibly direct. Doesn't fuck around. It's direct. It's also action. It's also drive. It just does things. Aries energy just does shit. It doesn't fuck around. It just does what it needs to do. It is self-focused. This sometimes gets equated to selfish. That's not accurate. It can be, right? Aries energy can be selfish. but not always. It can sometimes just have a self-focus, which isn't like, that's not such a bad thing. Sometimes we do need to be more self-focused. That's not a bad thing. Just depends on how it's used, right? How it comes about. Aries energy is also passionate, aggressive, can certainly be aggressive, will, like raw humanistic will kind of thing, and power too. But again, more of the human animalistic version of power, not the Plutonian like power from the soul. Fear is another Aries expression, notions of fear. This can be fearlessness. This could be fearfulness. You know, we tend to think of Aries as fearless. That's not always the case though. Aries can certainly be fearful as well. We don't want to rule that out. So I just have fear on the blog post. And beginnings, new beginnings. New beginnings or just beginnings. Starts, the starting of things, this kind of stuff is all very, very Aries. It got dark. Sun like went behind a cloud or something. Okay, so in the post I have, when you think about transit Saturn and Neptune, now it's getting light again. When you think about transit Saturn and Neptune conjunct one another in Aries, what are the first thoughts that come to your mind? When I think about this conjunction, these are what come to mind first. Okay, so I've talked about this before. Saturn conjunct Neptune. There is, like I have here in the post, transit Saturn and Neptune in Aries could cause an aggressive Aries dissolution, Neptune, of structures that are in place. So, you know, Saturn's had been in Pisces for a while, and that's also like structures dissolving, right? Pisces, one of the rulers of Pisces is Neptune. So we have not, collectively, we have all kind of felt this structures dissolving thing for a while. The difference here, though, is that instead of it being in Pisces, where Saturn, quite honestly, can kind of jerk off, it's not in Pisces now. It's in Aries, and it's not jerking off in Aries. It's not. In fact, it's probably, Saturn is probably frustrating Aries energy more often than not. But this kind of being under a fog or being clouded or whatever, being able to jerk off in Pisces just doesn't exist. So these structures, this dissolution of structures, while this has been going on for a while, it's going to feel more aggressive now. It's going to feel more like there's more energy behind it. It's going to feel like it's go time, if that makes sense. That's how it's going to feel. So that, and you know, I have here in the notes, or in the blog post, I guess I should say, you know, I'll just read from this. On a collective level, we might find that structures that we have in place just don't work anymore and need to be dissolved, so a new beginning can take place. It's also possible that structures we have in place that do work also end up a casualty of this dissolving process, which is concerning. The same sort of thing might occur on an individual level for people if there are structures that you have in place in your own life that are in the process of dissolving, and they are structures that don't really benefit you. The addition of Aries energy in the mix feels like it gives the energy necessary to do just this. So, yeah, if there are things that you have been on an individual level, if there are things that you have wanted to dissolve and you feel like they have been dissolving, but maybe you haven't really been able to really dissolve them yet, this transit does feel like it gives the ability for that to happen. At the same time, though, there might be things that dissolve that you don't want dissolved. There's always that possibility as well. How this one actually plays out for you, if you should try to hold on to what is in the process of dissolving or not, I don't know. I'd have to see your chart. I really would. Because in some cases, it might be to really hold on to what you have. And in some cases, it might be to let what you're trying to hold on to go. And this really does depend on your chart. But this isn't easy. This is not easy. And I could also see the same kind of thing, you know, on a collective level. You know, there might be structures dissolving. Well, there are. I mean, I'm here in the US. There are definitely things fucking dissolving here. Definitely. But there are things that, you know, we might need to be dissolved, right? They might have run their course, and that needs to happen. At the same time, there are things, you know, dissolving here that I'm not sure that's so great they're dissolving. So it's just kind of just in general dissolving of structures, and this feeling more active, like there's more energy behind it, more aggressive even though this has been going on for a little bit when Saturn was in Pisces. Oh, and I forgot to mention the Saturn cycle is, because I can't remember if I mentioned this or not. The Saturn Neptune conjunction happens roughly every 36 years. And Saturn's orbital period is roughly 29 years. Neptune's orbital period is roughly 164 years. And Saturn will be in a sign for roughly 2.5 years. Neptune will be in a sign for roughly 13 years. So Saturn was in Pisces for about 2.5 years. So this has been, my point is, this has been going on for about 2.5 years. But we just might not have been as aware of it. It might not have felt as aggressive. It might not have felt as like go time as it might now. Another thing, now this one might sound kind of goofy, might sound overly positive for my Capricorn moon ass. I tend to veer more on the side of realism than idealism. But with Saturn and Neptune conjunct one another, we do have dream building. Neptune being dreams, Saturn being the builder or building. The ability to dream build is a thing here. It absolutely is. What does that mean exactly? And is this possible for everybody? Really, again, depends on your chart. Don't know what it's doing in your chart. But, what does it mean? Essentially, if there are things that you have wanted to build in your life, dreams that you've had about building something, this could be something tangible or intangible, right? Saturn is more tangible, right? Neptune is more intangible. So it really could be either or both. But if there are things that you wanted to build in your life, dreams that you've had of building something in your life, this is the time, because we're talking about this in Aries, this is the time to take a very active approach to this. Now, does it actually get built under this conjunction? I don't know. It could. Depends on your chart. But is this the perfect time to put those pieces in place on the board? Yes, I think it is. If there are things that you've wanted to build, dreams you've had that you've wanted to build, setting the stage, setting the board, setting the chessboard up to play, at least getting the pieces on the board arranged, I think is a wonderful way to work with this energy. I'm not sure that anything is actually built during this conjunction, while this conjunction is going on. It could. And this conjunction, by the way, this conjunction ends, I'm looking at an ephemeris, it ends in like mid to late April of 2026. Saturn will have separated from Neptune by that point. It'll be within the 5 degrees applying and separating. It'll be separated 5 degrees. So it won't. So by that point, that's when, if you've been putting pieces on the chessboard to dream build what you want, after that period of time, after Saturn is separated 5 degrees from Neptune in mid to late April of 2026, that's probably when things can actually start to be built for a lot of people. Not universally, but for a lot of people. That's when things can probably come about more. Another thing that this transit... okay, so let's talk about history for just a second. Because everybody knows I'm a history slut. Let's talk about history. Okay, so there is this idea here about, I have in my blog post, what the fuck are boundaries anyway? What the fuck are boundaries? Right? We've got like the master of boundaries and the one that has no boundaries coming together. So what the fuck are boundaries? you know, from a historical context, we have two examples. In 89, we had this conjunct in Capricorn. And it was during this period that we saw the fall of the Berlin Wall. That happened, let me see, I've got the dates here. On November 9th of 89, that's when the Berlin Wall essentially fell. And that was a few days, literally a few days before the exactitude of these two in Capricorn. Really interesting. The Berlin Wall was a literal boundary that we saw like essentially dissolve. Same sort of thing with boundaries. This conjunction also took place in Libra in 1953. And in 1953, on July 27th of 1953, also very close to when the exactitude of these two in Libra happened, we saw the armistice agreement between North and South Korea and the creation of the DMZ, a boundary, though in true Libra fashion. Love Libra energy, but it, you know, it can have a hard time having a firm line. I'm not ragging on, and don't think about it like I'm just talking to Libra suns here. I mean Libra energy in general, right? It can be very indecisive, and it's not always super firm. So from this conjunction, you know, dealing with boundaries in Libra in 1953, we have the demilitarized zone, which isn't actually a border, you know, or a boundary. It is a boundary, but it's not like an actual boundary like typical countries have. Like countries usually have boundaries. It's not like a regular one. It feels like a rather indecisive one. So we see, you know, throughout history, we see boundaries and boundary lines with countries and borders with countries literally come up. And, you know, that makes me think about this time, you know, from a geopolitical lens. I mean, I got to tell you, I've been talking about this for a while. India and Pakistan, they've been on my radar for a while. They were heating up, and they might still be a little bit earlier this year, though they definitely were. They have definitely been on my radar, though, for a while. But like stuff like that, they're definitely on my radar, but there are a lot of places in the world where we could see boundaries change. We could see borders change. We could see the dissolution of something, of some structure that's in place, so something else can be there, whatever. There is something about, there is something about this here from a historical lens that I do feel like could come around here again. Now, what does that mean for you as an individual? There might be personal boundaries that you have that you might find need to go to the wayside for whatever reason, or you might be forced to push them to the wayside. That's also possible, because Aries energy is forceful. So it could be that you don't really want to, but maybe you have to for some reason. Or you're just thinking about it, and you're like, I don't really need this boundary in place anymore anyway. Or why the fuck do I have this boundary in place anyway? This kind of stuff might come up. You might find that there are new boundaries or a new relationship with boundaries that needs to come about, because Aries is new energy, right? It's new, it's starting, it's that kind of a thing. So, but definitely boundaries, issues of boundaries, to have a boundary or to not have a boundary, and how to have the boundaries. That is the question. And it does feel like that is going to be, I think, again, it depends on your chart, but I think this will come up for people. I think it probably will. Just because it's certainly come up in a historical context across the world. So it would not surprise me if something like this came up for a lot of you, personally. Okay, so now we're going to talk, I'm not sure, I don't think I've ever pulled these out on here. I don't think I have. But I am a card collector of the Illuminati card game. I'm sorry, it sounds really goofy, but I really am. Like, I have like so many of these cards. And I was thinking about this conjunction, and these particular cards come to mind. Criminal Overlords, Hat Trick, and Time Warp. When I think about these, and honestly, I've done this for a long time. Like, I mean, I've been collecting these cards for a while now. I have a whole like card binder of these cards. Because I think they're just weird and they're my jam. But whenever I think about astro weather, I do tend to, my mind will go to some of these cards that I have in my binder. I've just never pulled them out on here before, and I might start doing that more. Might start doing that more now. But when I think about it, my mind does go to these three specifically. Now, why is that? Time warping. Let's talk about time warping. Saturn is father time. Neptune distorts things. It, really, honestly, time warp. In a lot of ways, there's like a galactic center flavor to it, too. There is, to time warping. Absolutely is. But Neptune does distort things, right? It's illusions, delusions, clouding, all that shit can absolutely distort things. So that's why this time warp card comes up. I'll read what I have from here. Time warping is absolutely a Saturn conjunct Neptune thing, and in Aries there will be a certain kind of oomph to it. Have any of y'all out there noticed that not only does time feel like it's speeding up, but that it also just feels warped and distorted? I don't want to say that it feels wrong. That's not accurate to say, but just sideways or twisted inside out and spit back out. Saturn is father time and daddy. While Neptune can express itself so confused and clouded that time ends up distorted, or like we all somehow ended up on a fucked up timeline. I would imagine that these kinds of feelings, time speeding up and time being warped, distorted, will continue in some capacity throughout the summer of 2025 and into 2026. Once both Saturn and Neptune are back in Aries again, they will retrograde into Pisces in the autumn. Another thing about time warping distortion, the very nature of reality feels like it's being called into question. Saturn is reality. Like I said earlier, it is like the master of reality. So, and this is something that I'm seeing people doing. A lot more people are questioning the actual nature of physical reality, of the reality in which we live in, of the reality that we create for ourselves, and how we do that. How do we do that? I'm seeing this being talked about more, asked more, things like that. People all over the place are starting to question the possible distortion, Neptune, of the reality, Saturn, in which we live on a collective level. People also seem to be questioning this individually too. It also seems like being able to manifest Neptune, reality, Saturn, in a way that works for the individual, Aries, remember Aries is self-focused, so individual, could be a way that this transit comes about, and really is a fantastic way to work with the energy of the planets involved. This is, this very much, you'll see people are questioning the reality that we live in and why it's set up the way that it is. And from a real world standpoint, from a metaphysical standpoint, from a spiritual standpoint, from all kinds of standpoints, people are questioning this. People are wondering about this. They really are. And this transit makes me think there will be more exploration of this very thing. Aries is, the fearlessness, right? The fear, right? Because this can be a scary thing, questioning the nature of reality, of the reality that we have created for ourselves, the reality that we live in, both individually and collectively. There can be some fear there. Absolutely can be. But it's a good thing, right? It's the kind of fear that perhaps, in my opinion, opinions are like assholes. But leaning into this and exploring it, leaning into that fear, I think it's a good thing. I think it ultimately is a good thing. Now, the hat trick card comes up, right? We're talking about trickery and illusions, right? Magic tricks are illusions, essentially. That's very Neptunian. So I have here, I think of it like no one really knows what the fuck is going on, and there are constantly distractions and tricks done in front of us to keep us in the dark, keep us confused, and maybe even keep us distorted. Now, do I wear a little bit of a tinfoil hat? Yes. Not the flat earth kind of tinfoil hat, but definitely the extraterrestrial kind of tinfoil hat. Whatever they are, whether they're little green men or something like angels or whatever, they're just not from this fucking realm. Yes, I wear that tinfoil hat. Government, corruption, conspiracy, that kind of shit, abso-fucking-lutely. I wear that tinfoil hat all day. I abso-fucking-lutely do. Which is why this one comes up for me. And this isn't just a U.S. thing, by the way. I mean, U.S., because I'm in the U.S., I'm in Texas. So this is what I perhaps know the most about. U.S. history, that kind of stuff. But, I mean, this is a worldwide thing. This is not just a U.S. thing. This is a worldwide thing. This is a worldwide thing across all governments. Or at the very least, like 99% of them. I have no doubt. But I bring this up. I bring up the tinfoil hat thing because, you know, Neptune is conspiracy. Conspiracy is something that Neptune wants to express. And Saturn is quite literally government, authority, this kind of stuff. So with Neptune conjunct Saturn and the criminal overlord shit, and Aries energy being like leadership, right? There is a leadership quality to Aries energy. We could be looking at government conspiracy regarding leadership and things like that. I would not rule it out. Now, when I think about this, you know, this week I'm filming this. It's the 8th of June. I don't know if I'm going to post this later today or if I'm going to wait till tomorrow. I don't know when the fuck I'm going to post this. But this past week, we've had Trump and Musk with their little breakup or whatever the hell it is, with Musk acting like some kind of scorned lover. I don't know what the hell. I don't know. But going off and about, you know, Trump being on a list, and I'm kind of afraid to say too much because I know videos get flagged on YouTube when people start talking about shit. I don't know, videos get flagged everywhere, whatever. I think most people are going to know what I'm talking about, what he was saying on Twitter. And you know what's really crazy to me is that me and my friend were talking about this, and you know, it's like this will be written in history books. This will be in fucking history books in the U.S. at least, U.S. history books. 30 years from now, that there was a massive fight on fucking Twitter, or what used to be Twitter, whatever it's called now. Like, how ridiculous. How absolutely ridiculous. We are absolutely 100% the laughing stock of the fucking world right now. And I hope everybody is sitting back with popcorn, just laughing their asses off, having a great time, because it's just so ridiculous. Like, it's so ridiculous. But then I think about it and I'm like, okay, well, I can certainly see these two individuals going at it publicly like they are. Their personality, like, not that I know either one of them personally, but what we've seen of them in the public eye, it should surprise nobody that they would do this. It should surprise nobody that they had a falling out because everybody fucking knew eventually that was going to happen. And, you know, when the falling out happened, that it would be public. Like, that should surprise nobody either. But when ridiculous things like this happen, I do have to ask myself, what's really going on here? What's really going on? Because to me, this feels like a fucking hat trick. What's really going on right now that we're not supposed to pay attention to? Supposed to be like, there was some little bullshit's going on. Sorry, somebody was calling. Some little bullshit is going on, you know, over there. And we're supposed to look over here at what they're doing. It's happened before, is my point. And while it certainly would make sense for these two to go at it publicly and for it to be legitimate, I don't rule out the possibility of this being a hat trick. I absolutely don't. So I think my point in saying all of that is, while this conjunction is going on this summer, and, you know, even into the fall, definitely into early next year, from like January to like April of next year, I think it's going to be very important that when things like this come up, and I guarantee you this won't be the only thing. There will be other things that I don't know what. I'm not going to predict what. But there will be other things that'll feel like a fucking hat trick that will come up. if you're like me, you'll want to start looking into what's going on alongside it or behind it. What else is going on in the world? Because while certain things that happen in the public eye may very well be legitimate, I also think with the illusionary quality of Neptune, it's possible that we aren't getting the whole story. We're not seeing things correctly, or, you know, it's just a hat trick, something to distract us, get in our, you know, whatever the case might be. Anyway, I've made this long enough. So I am going to stop. This probably won't be all I'll have to say on this, because, you know, this is a big deal conjunction. I'm sure I'll want to look more into the history. I didn't have a chance to look into history further back than the 1953 one. I'm thinking about the first last time, 89. Second last time being 1953. So I might do more on this. I probably will do more on this in time. But if you want to share any thoughts that you have about this Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries, if you want to share any thoughts in the comments, leave them. I love hearing from y'all. I love responding to y'all, talking to y'all, all that stuff. So please feel free to share. If you would like me to read for you, I will put the link in the description box. Want to check out the blog post? That's also going to be in the description box. All that kind of stuff. Okay, I will see you all later.